Welcome to Jawesome Fundas. A mother of 3 and recently completed degree. The last class she had to take was sociology. The teacher was absolutely inspiring with the qualities that where every human being had been graced with. Her last project of the term was called Smile. The class was asked to go out and smile at 3 people and document their reactions. I am a very friendly person and always smile at everyone and say hello anyway. So she thought it would be a piece of cake, literally. Soon after the assignment was given, she, her husband and younger son went out to McDonald's. It was just their way of sharing special playtime with their son. They were standing in line, waiting to be served, when all of a sudden, everyone around them began to back away. And then, even her husband did. She did not move an inch. An overwhelming feeling of panic welled up inside her as she turned around and smelt a horrible dirty body smell. And there, standing behind her, were 2 poor homeless men. As she looked down at the short gentleman close to her, he was smiling. His beautiful sky blue eyes were full of God's light as he searched for acceptance. He said good day as he counted the few coins he had been clutching. The second man fumbled with his hands as he stood behind his friend. She realized the second man was mentally challenged and the blue-eyed gentleman was his salvation. She held her tears as she stood there with them. The young lady at the counter asked them what they wanted, and they said coffee is all, miss, because that was all they had or they could afford. If they wanted to sit in a restaurant and warm up, they had to buy something. They just wanted to be warm. Then she really felt it. The compulsion was so great. She almost reached out and embraced the little man with the blue eyes. That is when she noticed all eyes in the restaurant were set on her, judging her every action. She smiled and asked the young lady behind the counter to give her 2 more breakfast meals on a separate tray. She then walked around the corner of the table that the men had chosen as a resting spot. She put the tray on the table and laid her hand on the blue-eyed gentleman's cold hand. He looked up at her with tears in his eyes and said, "Thank you." She leaned over, began to pat his hand and said, "She did not do this for them. God is here working through her to give you hope." She started to cry as she walked away to join her husband and son. When she sat down, her husband smiled at her and said, "This is why God gave you to me, honey, to give me hope." He held hands for a moment, and at that time, they knew that only because of the grace that they had been given were they able to give. They are not churchgoers, but they are believers. That day showed her the pure light of God's sweet love. She returned to college on the last evening of class with this story in her hand and turned in her project. The instructor looked at her and said, "Can I share this?" She slowly nodded as she got the attention of the class. She began to read, and that is when people knew that we as human beings and being part of God share this need to heal people and to be healed. In her own way, she had touched people at McDonald's. Her husband, son, instructor, and every soul that shared that moment on the last night I spent as a college student. She graduated with one of the biggest lessons that anyone would ever learn: unconditional acceptance. Love people and use things. Don't use people and love things. Thank you for watching Jawesome Fundas.